Today, I want to talk about something simple, ordinary, and incredibly powerful your routine. Because whether we realize it or not, your routine is your future. Most people think the future is shaped by big decisions, major opportunities, lucky breaks, or dramatic moments. But the truth is far quieter. The future is built in the small, repeated actions we take every single day. What you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. Think about it. You don't wake up one day suddenly successful, healthy, confident, or fulfilled. You become those things slowly through habits. The way you start your morning, how you spend your free time, what you feed your mind, and who you choose to listen to, these daily choices are quietly shaping who you will be 5 or 10 years from now. If your routine is filled with excuses, distractions, and shortcuts, your future will reflect that. But if your routine includes discipline, learning, effort, and self-respect, your future will reward you for it. The powerful thing about routines is that they don't require motivation every day. They rely on commitment. Motivation fades, but routine stays. When something becomes part of your routine, it no longer feels hard. It feels normal. You may not see results immediately, and that's where most people quit. But routines compound. Those actions repeated daily create massive change over time. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel life changing until a year later when you've read dozens of books. Exercising for 20 minutes may seem small until your body and confidence are transformed. So if you want to change your future, don't obsess over where you want to be. Obsess over what you do today. Design your routine with intention. Protect it. Respect it, because every habit you keep is a vote for the person you are becoming. The future is shaped by daily habits, not big one-time decisions. Many people spend their lives waiting for a single moment that will change everything. A breakthrough opportunity, a perfect plan, a dramatic turning point. They believe that success, growth, or happiness arrive suddenly as the result of one bold move. But in reality, those moments are rarely what define a person's life. What truly shapes the future are the quiet, repetitive actions that happen when no one is watching. The future is not created in a single day. It is constructed slowly through what you choose to do every day. Daily habits may seem insignificant because they are small and familiar. Waking up at a certain time, checking your phone, choosing what to eat, deciding whether to work or procrastinate, these actions feel ordinary, even boring, but habits have a powerful cumulative effect. One small decision repeated over weeks, months, and years becomes a defining force. Defining force. Skipping practice once may not matter, but skipping it regularly will. Studying a little every day may not feel impressive, but over time, it builds knowledge, skill, and confidence that no last-minute effort can replace. Big decisions often get too much credit. People admire dramatic success stories and assume that one bold choice created everything. What they don't see are the years of habits behind that moment. The early mornings, the consistent effort, the repeated failures, and the daily discipline. Big decisions can open doors, but habits determine whether you are prepared to walk through them. Without strong daily routines, even the best opportunities are wasted. Habits also shape your mindset. What you do repeatedly trains your brain to think a certain way. If your daily habits involve learning, self-reflection, and persistence, you begin to see challenges as opportunities to grow. If your habits revolve around avoidance, distraction, and excuses, your mindset slowly shifts toward limitation and fear. Over time, these thought patterns feel natural, even though they were built intentionally or unintentionally through routine behavior. Another reason daily habits matter more than big decisions is that habits operate automatically. Once a behavior becomes a habit, it requires less effort and less motivation. This means your future is being shaped even on days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. Your habits carry you forward when willpower fails. On the other hand, if your habits are unhealthy or unproductive, will pull you backward just as consistently, even when you want to move ahead. Daily habits also determine your identity. You don't become disciplined by deciding to be disciplined once. You become disciplined by repeatedly acting with discipline. Every habit is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. When you show up daily, you begin to see yourself differently, and that self image influences future choices. In this way, habits don't just shape outcomes, they shape who you believe you are, which then shapes everything else that follows. Small actions repeated consistently create long term success, even though they often feel too minor to matter in the moment. People tend to underestimate the power of small efforts because the results are not immediate. When an action does not produce visible change right away, it is easy to dismiss it as useless or not worth the time. But success is rarely the result of sudden massive effort. It is the outcome of small actions done so regularly that they begin to shape ability, character, and results over time. Consistency transforms small actions into powerful forces. A single workout will not make someone fit, just as reading one page will not make someone knowledgeable. However, when those actions are repeated day after day, they accumulate. Each small effort builds on the previous one, creating momentum. This process is gradual, which is why many people fail to recognize it while it is happening. Growth is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. What feels like slow progress is actually progress stacking quietly in the background. Small actions are also sustainable. Big, intense efforts often rely on high motivation, which naturally fades. When people attempt drastic changes all at once, they may succeed briefly, but burnout usually follows. Small actions, on the other hand, are easier to maintain. They fit into daily life without overwhelming it. Because they feel manageable, they are more likely to be repeated, and repetition is what produces real change. Long term success favors what you can do consistently, not what you can do once with extreme effort. Another important aspect of small, consistent actions is that they reduce resistance. The mind resists tasks that feel difficult or intimidating, but it rarely resists small steps. Starting with a simple action lowers the mental barrier to action. Once started, it becomes easier to continue. Over time, what once felt challenging comes normal. This gradual shift allows growth to happen without constant internal struggle, making success feel less forced and more natural. Consistency also builds trust in oneself. Every time a small action is completed, it reinforces the belief that you can rely on yourself. This self-trust is critical for long-term success. When people repeatedly break promises to themselves by abandoning habits, their confidence erodes. In contrast, keeping small commitments strengthens discipline and self-belief. This inner confidence then fuels greater challenges, making larger goals feel achievable because they are built on a foundation of proven consistency. Small repeated actions also sharpen skills. Mastery in any area is not achieved through rare bursts of effort, but through continuous practice. Each repetition refines technique, improves understanding, and reduces mistakes. Progress may feel slow, but each small improvement compounds. Over time, this compounding effect creates a noticeable gap between those who stay consistent and those who rely on occasional effort. The difference is not talent, but persistence applied through routine actions. Long-term success is often the result of patience applied daily. Small actions teach patience because they require faith in the process. They demand trust that today's effort, even if it feels insignificant, is contributing to something larger. This mindset separates those who achieve lasting success from those who quit early. By committing to small actions consistently, individuals allow time to work in their favor, letting effort grow into results that seem impressive only because the process behind them was quiet and steady. Your routine reflects your priorities and values, even more honestly than your words or intentions. People often claim that certain things matter deeply to them: success, health, family, learning, growth, but the truest evidence of what they value is found in how they spend their time each day. Time is limited, and routines reveal where that time consistently goes. What you repeatedly choose to do, especially when no one is forcing you, exposes what you truly place importance on. Routines are built from choices, and every choice carries a value judgment. When you decide to wake up early to work on a goal, you are placing value on progress and self-discipline. When you choose rest, you may be valuing recovery and balance. When distraction dominates your routine, it often signals that comfort or avoidance has been prioritized, sometimes unconsciously. These values are not necessarily good or bad on their own, but they shape outcomes over time and routines make them visible. Unlike goals, which can be idealistic, routines are practical. A person may value knowledge, but if the routine never includes reading, studying, or learning, that value exists only in theory. A person may value relationships, but if their routine leaves no space for conversation, presence, or attention, those relationships will slowly weaken. Routines turn abstract values into lived behavior, translating belief into action through repetition. Routines also show what you protect. The things that appear consistently in your day are usually the things you defend against interruption. If exercise, work, or personal development remain in your schedule, even on busy days, it shows they are non negotiable priorities. On the other hand, activities that disappear easily from your routine are often things you want but do not truly commit to. This difference explains why some aspirations never become reality. They were never given space in daily life. Another powerful aspect of routine is that it reveals values without emotional influence. In moments of motivation, people may claim strong intentions, but routine operates regardless of mood. On difficult or tiring days, your routine still functions, showing what matters enough to continue without enthusiasm. This is why routines are more honest than promises. They expose consistency, not just desire. Routines also influence values in return. What you repeatedly do begins to feel important simply because it occupies time and attention. Over time, habits shape identity, and identity reinforces values. For example, a routine that includes daily learning slowly builds a self-image centered on growth and curiosity. That identity then strengthens the value placed on education and improvement. In this way, routine and values exist in a continuous cycle, each reinforcing the other. Social influences can also be seen through routine. The people you interact with regularly, the environments you place yourself in, and the content you consume daily all reflect what you consider acceptable or meaningful. These elements may not be consciously chosen at first, but once they become routine, they gain influence. This is why evaluating routine is one of the clearest ways to understand personal values without self-deception. Ultimately, routines remove ambiguity. They strip away excuses and reveal reality. They show not what you hope to value someday, but what you value now. By examining daily routines honestly, a person can clearly see whether their actions align with their stated beliefs or whether change is needed to bring priorities and values into alignment through deliberate daily behavior. Motivation is temporary. Routines create discipline. Motivation is an emotional state, and like all emotions, it rises and falls. Some days you feel energized, inspired, and ready to take on challenges. Other days you feel tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. If progress depends only on motivation, it becomes inconsistent and unreliable. This is why many people start strong but fail to continue. They wait to feel motivated again, not realizing that motivation is not designed to last. Routines remove the need to feel motivated. Good. When an action becomes part of a routine, it is no longer debated or negotiated internally. You do it because it is what you do, not because you feel like doing it. Discipline is built in this space, where action happens regardless of mood. Where action happens regardless of mood. This is where real growth occurs, on the days when motivation is absent, but commitment remains. Discipline is not about force. It is about structure. Motivation often depends on external factors such as praise, results, or excitement. When these factors disappear, motivation fades with them. Routines, however, are internally driven. They are based on decision rather than emotion. Once a routine is established, it creates stability. Even in moments of doubt or fatigue, the routine provides direction, guiding behavior when emotions are unreliable. Another limitation of motivation is that it encourages waiting. People say they will act when they feel ready, inspired, or confident. This waiting creates delay and inconsistency. Routines eliminate waiting by turning action into a scheduled part of life. There is no question of when or whether something will be done. It has already been decided. This certainty strengthens discipline and reduces mental friction. Discipline formed through routine also builds mental resilience. Each time you follow your routine without motivation, you train your mind to tolerate discomfort and resist excuses. Over time, this strengthens self-control. Tasks that once felt difficult become manageable because the mind has learned to act without emotional support. This resilience extends beyond one habit and influences other areas of life, improving focus systems. Routines also conserve mental energy. Constantly relying on motivation requires repeated decision making, which is mentally exhausting. Deciding whether to act every day drains willpower. Routines reduce this burden by automating behavior. When actions are automatic, energy can be directed toward improvement rather than persuasion. This efficiency makes discipline sustainable over the long term. Discipline created by routine is quiet and often unnoticed, but it is powerful. It does not rely on excitement or intensity. Instead, it relies on consistency and structure. Over time, this discipline shapes character. A person who follows routine develops reliability, patience, and self-respect. These qualities are not developed through moments of high motivation, but through repeated adherence to routine when motivation is absent. Routines also protect progress during difficult periods. Life inevitably brings stress, failure, and during such times, motivation is often the first thing to disappear. A solid routine acts as a safety net, preventing complete collapse. Even minimal effort within a routine maintains momentum. This is why disciplined individuals recover faster from setbacks. They rely on routine rather than emotion to guide their actions. What you do every day determines who you become because identity is not formed by isolated actions, but by repeated behavior. People often think of identity as something fixed, something they already are, rather than something they are constantly shaping. In reality, identity is fluid and built over time through daily actions. Each repeated behavior sends a message to the mind about the kind of person you are, and over time, those messages solidify into self-belief. Daily actions act as evidence. When you consistently engage in a behavior, your brain begins to accept it as part of who you are. If you practice a skill every day, you start seeing yourself as someone who is dedicated and capable. If you avoid responsibility daily, you may begin to identify as someone who struggles with discipline. These identities are not chosen consciously. They are adopted gradually through routine behavior. The mind looks for patterns, and whatever pattern appears most often becomes your identity. This is why occasional effort has little impact on who you become. One productive day does not make someone disciplined, just as one lazy day does not make someone unmotivated. Identity is shaped by trends, not moments. The behaviors you repeat most often become your normal, and your normal becomes your self-image. Over time, that self-image influences future decisions, creating a cycle where actions reinforce identity and identity reinforces actions. Daily behavior also influences confidence. Confidence is not built through affirmations alone, but through consistent proof. Each time you follow through on a daily commitment, you build trust in yourself. This self-trust strengthens confidence, which then affects how you approach challenges, opportunities, and relationships. When daily actions align with personal standards, self-respect grows. Self-respect grows. When they do not, doubt and insecurity often follow. Habits also shape character traits. Traits such as patience, resilience, discipline, and focus are not inherited automatically. They are trained through repeated actions. Facing difficulty daily builds resilience. Practicing restraint builds self-control. Choosing effort over comfort builds discipline. These traits emerge slowly, often unnoticed, but they define who you become far more than talent or intention. The environment you engage with daily also plays a role in shaping identity. The information you consume, the people you interact with, and the routines you follow influence beliefs and attitudes. Over time, exposure becomes normalization. What once felt unfamiliar becomes comfortable, and comfort shapes behavior. This is why daily exposure matters so much. It gradually molds perspective and values. Another important aspect is that daily actions limit or expand future possibilities. The person you become determines the opportunities available to you. Skills developed through daily practice open doors. Weaknesses reinforced through neglect close them. In this way, identity formed by daily behavior does not just affect how you see yourself, it affects what you are capable of doing and achieving. Consistency in daily actions also creates integrity between values and behavior. When actions align with stated beliefs day after day, inner conflict decreases. This alignment creates clarity and stability in identity. When there is a mismatch between values and daily behavior, confusion and dissatisfaction often arise. Identity thrives on consistency, and daily actions provide the structure that allows it to form clearly and strongly. Ultimately, becoming someone different does not require a dramatic transformation. It requires changing what you do each day. Small daily choices, when repeated, quietly shape identity until one day the person you have become reflects the habits you practiced all along. Negative routines lead to negative outcomes over time, often in ways that are subtle at first and difficult to notice. Unlike sudden mistakes, negative routines rarely cause immediate damage. Instead, they work slowly, shaping behavior, mindset, and results through repetition. Because the effects are gradual, people often underestimate their impact and continue these routines without realizing the long-term consequences they are creating. Negative routines usually begin as small, seemingly harmless behaviors. Procrastinating for a few minutes, skipping preparation, choosing comfort over effort, or avoiding responsibility does not feel dangerous in the moment. In fact, these choices often provide short-term relief or pleasure. However, when repeated daily, they create patterns that undermine growth. What starts as convenience slowly becomes habit, and habit becomes lifestyle. One of the most damaging aspects of negative routines is that they lower standards over time. When poor choices are repeated, the mind adjusts expectations. What once felt unacceptable begins to feel normal. This gradual shift weakens discipline and self-respect. People begin to expect less from themselves, not because they lack potential, but because their routines no longer support high standards. As standards drop, outcomes follow. Negative routines also shape mindset in destructive ways. Repeated avoidance trains the brain to associate difficulty with discomfort and fear. Over time, challenges begin to feel overwhelming, even when they are manageable. This creates a cycle where effort is avoided, confidence decreases, and self-doubt grows. The routine of avoidance reinforces the belief that progress is too hard, making change feel increasingly difficult. Another consequence of negative routines is the erosion of skill and ability. Skills require practice and engagement to develop. When routines involve neglect or distraction, skills stagnate or decline. This loss is often unnoticed until a situation demands competence that is no longer there. At that point, frustration and regret appear, but the root cause lies in long-term routine, not sudden failure. Negative routines also affect emotional well-being. Repeated behaviors that conflict with personal values create internal tension. When actions consistently contradict goals or beliefs, guilt and dissatisfaction accumulate. This emotional weight can lead to stress, frustration, or apathy. And to stay over time, people may feel stuck or unfulfilled without fully understanding why, unaware that their daily routines are shaping their emotional state. Relationships are also impacted by negative routines. Consistently neglecting communication, presence, or effort can weaken connections. These effects are rarely immediate, but over time, distance grows. Trust, respect, and closeness require consistent attention. When routines do not support these efforts, relationships suffer. often without clear moments of conflict to explain the change. Negative routines are especially dangerous because they feel familiar. Familiarity creates comfort, and comfort reduces urgency to change. Even when results worsen, the routine itself feels safe because it is known. This is why people remain stuck in patterns that harm them. Harm them? The discomfort of change feels greater than the discomfort of staying the same, when the long-term cost is high. Over time, negative routines narrow possibilities. They limit growth, reduce opportunity, and reinforce patterns of underachievement. The future becomes predictable, not because of lack of ability, but because routine has quietly shaped outcomes. The danger lies not in one bad decision, but in the repeated choice to follow routines that slowly pull life in an unwanted direction. Positive routines compound into powerful results because consistency allows effort to build upon itself over time. At first, the effects of positive routines are often barely noticeable. Small improvements seem insignificant, and progress feels slow. This early stage can be discouraging, leading many people to abandon routines before results appear. However, compounding works quietly. Each positive action adds to the previous one, gradually creating momentum that accelerates growth. Compounding means that effort does not reset each day. It accumulates. A routine of daily practice improves skills slightly each time, but those improvements stack. Knowledge deepens, efficiency increases, and mistakes decrease. What once required intense focus becomes easier through repetition. This is why people who maintain positive routines eventually outperform those who rely on bursts of effort. Their growth is steady, continuous, and reinforced by time. Positive routines also strengthen confidence through repeated success. Each time a routine is followed, even in a small way, it reinforces belief in one's ability to stay committed. This confidence grows gradually and becomes a stabilizing force. Over time, individuals begin to trust themselves more, take greater responsibility, and pursue larger challenges. And this growth in confidence is not sudden, but is built through countless small acts of follow through. Another powerful aspect of positive routines is their ability to shape mindset. Repeated exposure to effort, learning, and progress trains the mind to expect improvement. Challenges are no longer viewed as obstacles, but as part of the process. This shift in perspective encourages persistence. Instead of quitting when progress slows, individuals with strong routines continue. Knowing that compounding requires patience, positive routines also improve efficiency. As behaviors become habitual, less mental energy is required to perform them. This frees attention for refinement and creativity. Over time, routines become systems that support growth automatically. Yes. This efficiency allows individuals to handle more responsibility without feeling overwhelmed, further amplifying results. The compounding effect of positive routines extends beyond skills and productivity. It influences character. Traits such as discipline, resilience, patience, and focus develop through repeated exposure to positive behavior. These traits then enhance the effectiveness of routines, creating a feedback loop. As character strengthens, routines become easier to maintain, and results grow more significant. Positive routines also protect against setbacks. Life inevitably brings challenges, failures, and disruptions. Individuals with established routines are better equipped to recover because their systems remain intact. Even when progress slows, the routine continues to generate forward motion. This consistency prevents complete collapse and allows recovery to happen more quickly. Over time, compounded routines create visible transformation. What once felt like small effort becomes a defining strength. Others may see the outcome as sudden success, but it is the result of long-term consistency. The power lies not in intensity, but in repetition, allowing small actions to grow into substantial, lasting results through time and persistence. Consistency matters more than intensity because progress depends on what can be sustained, not on what can be done briefly with extreme effort. Intense effort often looks impressive and feels productive, but it is usually short-lived. People may push themselves hard for a few days or weeks, driven by excitement or urgency, only to burn out when energy fades. Consistency, on the other hand, is quiet and less dramatic, but it is what creates lasting change. Intensity relies heavily on emotional states such as motivation, pressure, or excitement. When these emotions are strong, effort increases. When they weaken, effort drops. This creates an unstable pattern of action. Consistency avoids this problem by focusing on repeatable behavior. Even when energy is low, consistent action maintains progress. This steady pace allows improvement to continue without overwhelming the individual. Another limitation of intensity is that it often ignores recovery and balance. Extreme effort can lead to exhaustion, frustration, or injury. Or mental. When people push too hard without sustainability, they are forced to stop altogether. Consistency respects limits. It encourages manageable effort that can be maintained over long periods. This approach reduces the risk of burnout and increases the likelihood of long-term success. Consistency also builds habits, while intensity usually does not. Habits form through repetition, not through occasional extremes. A routine performed regularly becomes automatic, requiring less effort over time. Intense bursts of action may produce short-term results, but they do not create the systems needed for lasting progress. Without habit formation, success remains fragile and dependent on constant effort. Another advantage of consistency is its effect on skill development. Skills improve through regular practice, not sporadic intensity. Frequent engagement allows continuous feedback and gradual refinement. Intense practice without consistency can lead to uneven development and frustration. Consistent practice ensures steady improvement and deeper understanding, making progress more reliable. Consistency also shapes mindset. Repeated effort reinforces patience and trust in the process. It teaches individuals to value progress over perfection. Intensity often creates unrealistic expectations, leading to disappointment when results do not appear quickly. Consistency encourages a long-term perspective, reducing anxiety and increasing persistence. Over time, consistent effort creates momentum. Each action builds on the last, making future actions easier. Intense effort followed by long breaks destroys momentum, forcing individuals to start over repeatedly. Consistency keeps movement forward, even if the pace is slow. This continuous motion is what ultimately leads to meaningful results. Consistency also strengthens self-discipline. Showing up regularly, even in small ways, reinforces commitment. This discipline becomes part of identity, influencing behavior across different areas of life. Intensity may feel powerful in the moment, but consistency quietly builds the structure needed for sustained growth and long-term achievement. You must design your routine intentionally because routines do not form randomly. They are either created by conscious choice or shaped by habit, environment, and convenience. When routines are left unplanned, they are often influenced by distractions, external demands, and immediate comfort rather than long-term goals. This lack of intention allows days to pass without meaningful direction, resulting in routines that maintain the present rather than build the future. Intentional routine design begins with awareness. It requires paying attention to how time and energy are currently spent. Many people underestimate how much of their day is consumed by low-value activities because these actions feel automatic. Without awareness, it is impossible to change direction. But today, recognizing existing patterns reveals whether daily behavior aligns with desired outcomes or quietly works against them. Designing a routine intentionally also means aligning actions with purpose. Every routine should serve a reason, whether it is growth, health, learning, or stability. When actions are connected to a clear purpose, they gain meaning. This meaning increases commitment, making it easier to follow through even when the routine feels challenging. Without purpose, routines become chores, easily abandoned when discomfort arises. Intentional routines require prioritization. Time and energy are limited, so not everything can be included. Designing a routine means deciding what matters most and giving it consistent space. This often requires removing or reducing activities that provide short-term pleasure but long-term stagnation. Letting go of unhelpful habits is just as important as adding productive ones because routines must fit within realistic limits. Another important aspect of intentional routine design is structure. Structure creates predictability, which reduces mental strain. When tasks are assigned specific times or triggers, they are less likely to be avoided. This structure does not eliminate flexibility, but it provides a framework that supports consistency. Without structure, even good intentions can dissolve into procrastination. Intentional routines also consider energy levels. Designing routines without regard for mental or physical energy leads to failure. Tasks that require focus should be placed when energy is highest, while simpler actions can fill lower energy periods. This alignment increases effectiveness and reduces resistance. When routines work with natural rhythms instead of against them, sustainability improves. Designing routines intentionally means planning for obstacles. Life is unpredictable, and routines that collapse under pressure are poorly designed. Building flexibility into routines allows progress to continue, even during disruption. This may involve creating minimum standards for difficult days or backup habits that maintain momentum. Anticipating challenges strengthens routine resilience. Intentional routines evolve. As goals change and skills improve, routines must be adjusted. Rigid routines that ignore growth become restrictive rather than supportive. Regular evaluation ensures that routines remain aligned with current priorities. Ultimately, intentional routine design is an act of self-leadership. It reflects the decision to direct life rather than react to it. Each deliberate choice strengthens control over time and attention. When routines are designed with intention, daily actions become aligned steps toward a desired future rather than repeated patterns that lead nowhere. Changing your routine is the first step to changing your future because the future is not something distant or abstract. It is built directly from the patterns you repeat every day. No long-term outcome appears suddenly without a foundation of routine behind it. When people want to change their lives, they often focus on goals, dreams, or end results, but they overlook the daily structure that actually produces those results. Without changing routine, any desire for a different future remains a wish rather than a plan. A routine acts as a bridge between intention and outcome. You may intend to improve, grow, or succeed, but intention alone does not alter direction. Routine determines where effort flows consistently. If the routine stays the same, the future stays predictable. Even strong ambition cannot override daily patterns. This is why real change always begins at the routine level, not at the level of motivation or desire. Changing routine shifts behavior first, and behavior reshapes results. When even one daily habit is altered, the direction of progress changes. Small adjustments may seem insignificant, but they redirect momentum. A new routine introduces new inputs, new skills practiced, new information consumed, new actions repeated. Over time, these inputs create different outputs. The future begins to change not because of one dramatic act, but because the system producing results has been modified. Routine change also alters identity over time. As daily action shifts, self-perception adjusts. When someone consistently follows a new routine, they begin to see themselves differently. This shift in identity influences decisions, confidence, and expectations. The future changes not only externally through results, but internally through belief. Identity formed by routine becomes a powerful driver of long-term direction. Another reason routine change is the first step is that it creates control. Many people feel powerless about their future because it feels too large to influence. Routine brings change into the present moment. It focuses effort on what can be controlled today. This sense of control reduces overwhelm and replaces fear with action. Instead of worrying about distant outcomes, attention is placed on immediate behavior, which is manageable and repeatable. Changing routine also interrupts negative cycles. Unproductive futures are often the result of repeated patterns rather than lack of ability. By altering routine, these patterns are broken. This interruption creates space for growth. Even small disruptions to negative routines weaken their influence and open the door for new possibilities to form. Over time, repeated positive routines replace old patterns and reshape trajectory. Routine change also builds momentum. Once a new routine is established, it generates forward movement without constant effort. Momentum reduces resistance and increases confidence. Each day the routine is followed, change becomes more natural. The future begins to feel less uncertain because progress is visible through consistent action. Importantly, changing routine forces honesty. It reveals whether someone is truly committed to a different future or simply attracted to the idea of change. Routine requires action, not imagination. It demands follow through. This honesty is uncomfortable but necessary because real change cannot coexist with unchanged behavior. Unchanged behavior. Ultimately, the future is not shaped by what you hope will happen, but by what you repeatedly do. Changing routine changes the process that creates outcomes. When the process changes, results must eventually follow. This is why altering routine is not a minor adjustment, but a foundational step, because it rewrites the daily script from which the future is continuously produced. In the end, the future is not something we walk into by accident. It is something we build deliberately. Every routine we follow is shaping our direction, whether we are aware of it or not. The smallest daily choices, repeated consistently, become powerful forces that define our character, our opportunities, and our outcomes. There is no separation between who we are today and who we will become tomorrow. The connection is found in our routines. If there is one truth to remember, it is this: change does not begin someday, and it does not require perfection. It begins with what you choose to do repeatedly. When you take control of your routine, you take control of your future. Your habits are writing your story every day. Make sure they are leading you where you truly want to go.